The National Apartment Association is suing the CDC for losses faced while the eviction moratorium was happening. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over a lawsuit by the National Apartment Association. And they are suing for damages caused by the CDC's eviction moratorium. And this looks like it's a class action lawsuit. So other landlords throughout the country will be able to join it and hopefully get paid back some of the losses that they faced due to the CDC's eviction moratorium. But before I get into the article, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of this lawsuit. If you think it's a good idea or if it's not going far enough, okay? I personally think that every lawsuit out there that is being pushed is a good idea because it's going to show that, basically landlords are united in not being happy with what happened during this whole eviction moratorium issue. And this lawsuit in particular actually has some interesting things in it that, I'm glad that they put into the lawsuit. So this article, it comes from journal.firsttuesday.us, and it says, the National Apartment Association seeks money losses for landlords. A lawsuit is pending between the National Trade Association for Rental Property Owners and the federal government. The National Apartment Association, NAA, on July 27, 2021, filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims to recover money losses for residential landlords who have lost income due to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's federal eviction moratorium. Though it is a similar move to the National Association of Realtors' official complaint filed last November seeking to lift the federal eviction moratorium, the NAA is the first trade association to seek compensation for the CDC's hotly debated policy. Yeah, and it looks like they filed their lawsuit right before the original end to the eviction moratorium before it got extended. And fortunately, though, now that the eviction moratorium has been canceled, I think that there is a much stronger case for any cash rewards and payback. This is payback for the landlords for the lost income. In September 2020, the CDC imposed a ban on evictions from residential rental properties, which was set to expire by December of that year. Since December, the eviction moratorium has been extended multiple times up until the most recent extension, after it was said to be the last, until October 3rd, 2021. The federal eviction moratorium has since been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court as unenforceable. Thus, it may only be reinstated again through congressional order or at least at the state level, as in California. The NAA lawsuit, in addition to seeking money losses on behalf of rental property owners, also seeks assurance from the National Public Health Agency that the federal government can never enact a similar measure again. Now that is something that I've been looking for, okay? So right in their lawsuit, they're saying, hey, we want assurance that this can never happen again. We don't want to see the CDC or any other federal agency without the authority ever being given the power to put in place any sort of eviction moratorium again. Okay, that is completely uncalled for. It was completely unlawful, and the Supreme Court had to strike it down. So in this lawsuit, if they win, and I'm hoping that they do, then they need that assurance that this, can never happen again. But yeah, the point that it was unenforceable, that the CDC didn't have the authority, and that these are the things that I was saying for a long time. A lot of landlords were saying this for a long time, and I'm glad that they have this in the lawsuit. The lawsuit, NAA versus United States of America, is available to all rental housing providers who have lost income as a result of the federal eviction moratorium and are operating where the moratorium applies. However, because the state of California enacted more stringent conditions to the moratorium than those established by the CDC, California landlords are not eligible for joining in the lawsuit. So yeah, bad news for the California landlords, but you can't join in this lawsuit. Now, I did create a video earlier about a lawsuit by California landlords against the California state eviction moratorium. Okay, so there are other lawsuits that are being filed against the state of California and their eviction moratorium right now. And I'm not sure if you can join in as part of a class action suit in that one, but just be aware that that is out there. Now, in this case, I think it covers pretty much all the other people who were covered by the CDC's eviction moratorium and not allowed to evict. So this could end up being a humongous lawsuit. I'm talking about billions and billions of dollars. Okay, so if you lost income due to this eviction moratorium and for whatever reason you're not eligible for rental assistance or whatever, then you should really look at joining this. The lawsuit's argument hinges on violations of the U.S. Constitution. The NAA claims the CDC eviction moratorium circumvented the right for individuals to access the courts, creating contracts with others devoid of government interference, and demanding compensation when an owner's property is taken by government action, and the federal government power to be limited. So even amid the NAA seeking compensation for lost income during the pandemic, $46 billion in federal funds has been set aside to help landlords who have lost money under the moratorium and are waiting to be distributed. So yeah, they bring up the rental assistance, right? And as I've mentioned time and time again, okay, not all tenants qualify for this rental assistance. Not all landlords qualify for the rental assistance. The landlord cannot get the rental assistance without the tenant's help. So if the tenant is 100% uncooperative, the landlord gets nothing. If the tenant stayed in the property for 18 months while these eviction moratoriums were going on, right, and then moved out and just left on their own, then they're not going to apply for 18 months of back rent for their prior landlord. That's just not going to happen. So a landlord can be just left out in the dust. So this landlord would have to sue in order to get any of this compensation for all of that time when they were unable to evict that tenant. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cases where landlords are not entitled to any of this rental assistance, and they are going to have to sue the federal government in order to get that compensation. Despite the emergency rental assistance being available to tenants and landlords across the nation, it has been a struggle to access those federal and state and local funds. For starters, awareness of the program's existence has been slow to reach landlords and even slower to reach tenants. So a May 2021 Urban Institute survey shows 40% of landlords and 57% of tenants are unaware of ERA. Further, many landlords and tenants do not apply to ERA out of confusion. The application process varies by state, with some states needing the landlord to apply first and others requiring the tenant to initiate the application. So, yeah, they immediately go into landlords and tenants being confused or not knowing about the emergency rental assistance, not even realizing that there's so many landlords who don't even qualify or tenants who don't even qualify, yet those tenants for some reason were still protected by the eviction moratorium. We couldn't evict them even though they couldn't get emergency rental assistance. So landlords were just sitting there having to pay out of their pocket, out of their wallet, all of the bills for these tenants, while the tenants were sitting there and they were getting, extended unemployment benefits, and they were getting 3 separate stimulus checks. They were getting child tax credit. They were getting all sorts of this extra money, and then they had, one of their biggest expenses cut completely off, and they didn't have to pay it. So a lot of tenants were living pretty good during this whole pandemic thing, while the landlord was just taking it up the butt. And that's completely wrong. That's not the way things are supposed to be run. So, yeah, article goes on, talks about other reasons why emergency rental assistance wasn't taken by landlords or wasn't, eligible, landlords weren't eligible for it. But the point of the matter is that this lawsuit right here, it's a good thing, okay? It doesn't matter what the reasons were for not getting emergency rental assistance, okay? It only matters that the landlord lost money during the pandemic due to that eviction moratorium. Rental assistance and the eviction moratorium are two separate things, and that's what these politicians and these crazy activists need to get through their heads, okay? Rental assistance is not the same thing as an eviction moratorium. If they had pushed rental assistance to landlords, they wouldn't have needed an eviction moratorium. And they should have never had an eviction moratorium in the first place. So let's get into this lawsuit. If you're eligible to join into this lawsuit, you take a part in it, okay? And look online for the National Apartment Association's lawsuit, because it sounds like it's a good thing and it's what we've been looking for.